Hi, Kim.
Hi,
Hi, man. How are you doing?
very good, very good.
Ja, ha det bra.
Ja, ja, veldig bra. So, thank you for joining me on this interview.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My
Yeah.
pleasure.
So I run the Dream Theater fan club for the world actually.
Always a good thing.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to interview you is a bit because, of course, we have our common friend James Labrie.
Of course.
Yes. And he's joined you again for this third collaboration, actually.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So just since this is a Dream Theater related fan site, I just wanted to first get some history of you. Where the easiest question and the hardest question to ask somebody is, who are you?
I'm an incredibly tall hippie bastard from Holland. I'm an old bastard. I'm 57 by now. I think I just had my birthday. God damn, 57. I'll start at the beginning. I started playing guitar when I was like about 15.
Yeah.
And then I joined a couple of playback bands, which was in the early 70s, and it was like the glam rock period, with Alice
Right.
Cooper and David Bowie, stuff like that. Until one of the pupils gave me an album of Deep Purple. It was made in Japan, and I heard Richie Blackmore play, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I want. So then I started playing guitar. And after like 3-4 years, I joined a professional band
Right.
at the end of the 70s, a band called Bodine, which was before I joined it, they were like a blues rock band, but those were the days of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, with
Right.
guitar tandem. So I told them, hey man, you guys really need a guitar tandem and become a metal band, So I joined Bodine, and they turned into a metal band. I made 2 albums with them. After that, I joined Vengeance, which was also, well, at those days it was more of a hard rock band, I don't.
Right.
Um, and in Vengeance, I played like 9 years or something. So yeah, I've been touring the world for like 15 years in these rock bands, and they were pretty successful. I mean, we didn't get rich or anything, but I mean, we played a lot. We played 3 times a week, and toured a lot. And with Vengeance, I made like 6-7 albums. Um, and then at some point, we split up, and I did a solo album, which totally flopped.
Okay.
Because it was weird music, it was like poppy music, and I just tried to do what I thought the people wanted, and that's
Right.
totally wrong. It's totally
Yes.
wrong. So at some point I thought, let's do something that I want and that I like, and everyone will probably hate it, but I'm going to do it anyway if it's the last thing I do. And I started the Ayreon project, which is a rock opera with lots of guest musicians from all over the world. And it has many different styles like rock, metal, prog, folk, electronic, classical, classic, everything, industrial. And I thought people would hate it, and I was right, because it took me like a year to get a record contract. I was turned down by 30 different record companies.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and finally I got a deal in Japan, and the album was called The Final Experiment, and I really thought it would be my final experiment. I thought, who's gonna like this crap? But to my surprise and everyone's surprise, it started selling and it started entering charts, and that was the start of Ayreon. And since then, I made 8 Ayreon albums and a lot of side projects. So sorry for the long answer. That was probably more than you bargained for.
No, that's perfect. Because I mean, Dream Theater people probably know some of your work, but they don't know the full extent of it because.
Right, yeah.
So
Well, in between Ayreon albums, I did a lot of side projects that are a little bit different from Ayreon, like Star One and like Guild Machine and Ambion and The Gentle Storm and Strange Hobby, etc., etc.
So when you start writing an album, when does it actually become an Ayreon album?
Good question. Good question. Actually, when I start writing, I have no idea what it's going to be. And I learned to do this. I learned to keep everything open. In the beginning, I was like, my mind was set on something, and you know, and I had to stick to it. But nowadays, I just start and let it come to me, all very naturally, and then it slowly grows. You know, usually I start. I want to do a solo album because that's the easiest, you know. Then I don't
Of
have to
course.
hire any other musicians. I can do everything on my own, the way I love it. But then this time it started to get a little bit too heavy, and I'm not a metal singer, so I couldn't sing it. And I was like, well, maybe this is going to be a Star One,
Right.
because Star One is my metal project. But then suddenly all these violins and flutes and cellos started coming in, you know, and I thought, oh no, no, folk doesn't fit into Star One, so it will probably be an Ayreon. And at some point, I start hearing voices, you know, like I want in the beginning of these songs, I want like this really emotional voice who's like introducing the story, kind of like a narrator, but then singing, who's introducing the songs. And of course, I heard James' voice there. And at that point, I knew, okay, so this is going to be another Ayreon.
Right. So did you actually ever think that you'd still be doing Ayreon albums now, 22 years later, since the first one?
Absolutely not. Really, I really no, really. It's really was called the final experiment, and it was really like I want to do one album that I'm proud of, you know, that I'm totally proud of. That's totally me, and I can play it to my kids, which I will never have. But anyway, and tell them, listen, this is the album that's 100% Daddy, and that Daddy is proud of, you know. So and I never ever expected other people to like it, and now, you know, this album, The Source, is so far the pre-sales are the best I ever had in my life, in my history,
Oh,
and
that's good.
they're the best that the record company has ever had, and some versions even already sold out. And it's weird. It's kind of surreal that for me that this is happening. You know, when I see other great bands who are, in my opinion, like way better than me. Um, that, you know, I've got so much success right now. It's still very very weird, but um, I'm not complaining.
You did try to take a break from the Ayreon universe a few years back, right?
Just story wise, never. I will always continue with Arion. It's a great misconception. Maybe it's something, but that's on Wikipedia. I would have to check it.
Yeah.
But I will never stop with Arion because that's my baby. You know, that's I can put everything I have in Arion, and I'll keep doing it until really people don't want it anymore, or till I drop down or stop breathing. So, but yeah, I took a break from the big Arion. I kind of, through the years, I built this Arion universe, because all the albums starting to be connected, and this
Right.
whole story started to form about Planet Y and about the Forever Race and about a dependence on technology. And at some point at the album 011001, very nerdy title, I know. Um, the story was getting too complex, and I said to everyone, listen, this is the end. The story is finished now. The circle is complete. I will do something else. And then I'd made an Arion album called The Theory of Everything, which was a different universe. It was a different story. But yeah, I totally lied, because with this album I got back to the story again.
Which album is the prequel for the entire universe.
Yes, yeah. The as the word, the source, the title, the source, refers to the source of mankind, and it's also the source of the forever race, the source of everything, really, the source of Arion. So I felt, you know, if I do a prequel, it can justify the fact that I get coming back to the story.
With the Planet Y and Forever Ace, there's a lot of like sci-fi. Of course, the entire concept is sci-fi oriented.
Yes.
And the best sci-fi is always the ones that connected to the real world in some points.
True.
So I'm guessing you're kind of viewing this political climate that we're having today and putting that into music,
I try not to,
right?
because I don't think it's my. Uh, I don't think musicians should be involved in politics. I don't think it's my task to force my personal opinion upon people. I feel that very strongly. So I always try not to do that. But you can't help it, you know.
Of course.
Um, Basically, I want to offer escapism. And sci-fi is great for two things. It's great for escapism. You know, what's better way to escape than to leave the planet, you know? And on the other hand, sci-fi is great for making references to what's happening on Earth, you know, without pointing the finger. So basically, that's what I'm doing. I'm offering escapism. I'm telling a story, but between the lines, there is definitely things that I notice in the world, like the dependence on technology.
So most of the Aryan albums, they're rock operas. Is that the format that you feel very close to?
Yeah, yeah. It's ever since I heard Jesus Christ Superstar in the early '70s. I was sold. You know, that for me is still the best rock opera ever made. I can't even get close to that. You know, that's holy ground. Um, you know, the original with Ian Gillan, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
later on the movie with Ted Neely. That's where it all started, and that's where I noticed that music can have an extra dimension. You know, by putting a story to it, and the same, of course, with Tommy and War of the Worlds and Operation Mindcrime. And later on, of course, Metropolis and stuff like that. So yeah, I just love it. I love the extra dimension, and I love the adventure. You know, for me, music should be adventurous.
Yeah. So, of course, rock opera means that you also have to have a lot of different singers. So, when you pick the guest vocalists, do you typically rewrite the songs that you've already written to fit their tone?
Yes, definitely. I start with the music. Then I let the music inspire me to come up with the lyrics. And once I have the lyrics and the basic concept, then I go through my wish list, which is like 100 singers or something. And I choose the singers that I think fit best to the music and to the concept. Then I contact the singers. And once they are confirmed, I divide them over the album. So that's step one. And then step two, or the last step basically, is to write lyrics and characters. And I choose the lyrics, I choose the characters for the singers.
Right.
And I write the lyrics and the melodies, especially on the singers.
Because that's something I've noticed that a lot of times when you have these guest singers, they usually sing with music that's quite familiar to the way they usually sing in their main bands. You can kind of identify their.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the way I work. Like, okay, this part should be great for James. You know, let's put. I work with little pieces of paper. I got piece of paper of the singers, and then I got the songs, and then I just switch them around. You know, all these pieces of paper, and then I put this piece of paper here. I would love to hear him sing here. I think his voice or her voice would sound the best on this part. So really, the choice of singers and the music, they guide the story. So it's not the other way around. I got the whole story and the lyrics finished, and I'm looking for singers who fit it. It's the other way around.
And sometimes the guest vocalist even write their own stuff, like Devin did on the Human Equation, and I guess Michael Mills did with his stuff on the Source.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's very different with singers. Some singers they follow the guides you give them exactly. Some singers changes a little bit, and some singers like Devin Townsend totally ignore all the instructions I've given them and totally go for it themselves. And you know, I had to learn this again when I started Ayreon. I was like, "Hey man, you're changing the melody. I don't want that. It's my melody, and I wrote it like that, and you have to sing it like that." But then you work with people like Bruce Dickinson, you know, and they do their own thing, and you notice like, oh my God, it's way better than what I had. Same thing with Devin Townsend. It was so much better than what I sent him. And then you are like, okay, man, let's open my mind. It's all about the result. Some singers you should give a lot of freedom and just let them go for it.
Yeah. So when you pick guest musicians and vocalists, how do you actually decide on who to go with? Do you have to be a fan of their work? Do you pick people that you think will have a good reaction from the listeners?
Both, bit of both. At some point, I asked on Facebook. I asked people like, who would you like to hear on an album of mine? And that was interesting, because I got like I think 6,000 or 7,000 replies, and we actually, with my girlfriend together, we wrote down all the names that they sent in a thing, So I had this whole list of singers who are most popular and stuff. Also for me to find out, to discover singers that way. And but yes, I do have to be a fan of the singer if I ask him. Not specifically of the music, maybe, but I have to be a fan of the voice.
Right.
The voice is very important for me. Not even if someone is technical or not. I don't care about that. Or if someone can sing really high, or if someone can sing really. I don't care about that. For me, it's the sound of the voice. If I like the sound of the voice, I ask them, because there's a couple of like amazing, great singers, like Glenn Hughes. He's a fantastic singer, one of the best singers in the world.
Mm.
But for some reason, I don't like his voice.
Right.
So I would never ask him, and it's purely personal. It has nothing to do with the quality of a singer. It's really like James' voice is a very good example. I just when he sings warm and soft, it's like, oh my God, it really touches me, and it's so emotional, and it's I immediately hear that in my own music.
Yeah. So since we've been mentioning James, there's quite a lot of Dream Theater connections in the Ayreon albums now. You had James on the Theater Equation and the Source, and you had Jordan Rudess on Theory of Everything.
Yes.
And you also had a previous member of Dream Theater, Derek Sherinian, on
True, yeah.
On the 01011001 album.
True.
So, is Dream Theater something you've been a fan of or been following?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, I think, in the early 90s, of course, when I started the Ayreon project. It was around the same time, I guess. Everyone's talking about Dream Theater, and I loved the name. The name Dream Theater was like, oh my God, this sounds exactly what I would like. It sounds adventurous and dreamy and theater, and I love theatrical stuff. I've always loved it ever since Alice Cooper and nowadays stuff like Rammstein. Or
Right.
I love theatrical stuff, and yeah, so straight away from the beginning, I loved the stuff they did. And always followed every album and loved the musicians in it, of course. And yeah, definitely.
So, for Jordan and Derek, they're keyboardists. How do people like that become involved in your projects?
Well, again, I have a list of people I would love to work with. And I work the same basically as with singers. It's not like I want a keyboard solo here, I have to look for someone. It's like I want to work with this keyboard player, and if someone says yes, then I find the perfect spot for this person on the album. It was funny with Jordan Rudess. I had two parts for him, and I said, well, you can pick it yourself. This is like a part in this song, and this is a part you play immediately after the solo of Keith Emerson.
Right.
And he was like, I don't have to hear it. I want that solo after Keith Emerson.
Well, he was one of the biggest sources of inspiration for Jordan.
Right,
So
yeah.
that makes
And
a
it
lot of sense.
works perfectly, because first you have in that song you have the huge, huge sound of Keith Emerson with his big modular Moog. And then afterwards you get like the crazy, crazy pyrotechnics of Jordan after that. It's a beautiful contrast and it works perfectly.
So on the source, this time you have a lot of Norwegian people involved as well.
Yes,
Michael Eriksen,
Niels.
Nils Korue from Circus Maximus and Pagan's Mind. Uh,
Yes.
did you have you been aware of their music for?
Long time,
Yeah,
long time. Yeah, yeah. I've been emailing with the guys from Circus Maximus for 10 years now, I think. Especially Truls, the drummer.
yeah.
Been messaging with him for a long time, and I've always wanted to work with Michael, and he's always been on my list. But I have to find the perfect spot for someone, and it's not every album works. And this album, I was like, okay, now I need this very positive melodic voice on the album, and so yeah, I asked him, and he was like, oh, "Of course, man. When do you want me to be there? Tomorrow?" And same with Mills. Of course, I know Pagan's Mind for a long time, and he's got such a distinctive voice. You
Yeah.
recognize him from everywhere, and also he's such a nice guy. Also with him, I've been emailing for years and years, so we always knew that one day we would work together.
So and you also worked with don't know how to pronounce his name, Gotti.
Yeah.
That's quite a different type of singing that you usually don't have on Ayreon album.
Well, I love the exotic stuff, the Oriental stuff. I've always loved it. I think it's ever since Kashmir of Led Zeppelin. That's where it started. Where I loved that kind of Arabic scale of singing and of music. And yeah, Kashmir, Gates of Babylon later on from Rainbow. And I've always had that in my music. Basically, with my band Arabia in the 80s, we had a song called Arabia even, and it had like it had these Arabian. So no, I've already always had that influence, and I've always loved it. So people told me, "Hey, check out this band Mirath," and
Right.
I heard the band, and I loved the tracks. It was really good compositions and the singer. And then I went to a Symphony X show here in Holland, and Mirath was supporting. So I talked to Zaire, and he said, "Oh, I know your music, and I'm cool. I would love to be on the album." And basically, he would have had a bigger part, but he was very slow in answering my messages, and I'm I'm terrible. I have no patience. It's like, okay, man, if you don't answer my messages, then I work with someone else. And so I asked someone else, and then he came back to me and said, "Oh, sorry, man, sorry, I've been so busy, but I want a part on the album anyway." I said, I'll find a part for you. So I found the perfect part for him where he could like just go for it. I said, just go for it, just do something Arabic and sing Arabic too. I want it to be
Mm.
as natural as possible, and just sing like a quote from the Bible. And I think he's what he sings means "Let there be light" or something like that. Um, and yeah, it fits perfectly in that song. He's the preacher, and it's like a eulogy for the dead. So
You used to have a self-imposed rule that you wouldn't reuse vocalists, but on this album you've used several vocalists that you've used before on previous albums.
mhm.
What made you break your own rule as such?
Well, that rule only applied to two albums. It was only
Okay.
on the Human Equation and on Theory of Everything. Those were the two albums where I worked with only new singers. Basically, I did that because it keeps it fresh for me. It's interesting to work with new singers, and also to show off to people. Yeah, to keep it fresh for everyone, basically. And on this album, I already told you. on some parts I just heard James, and at the end of the theater equation, we had this party, and I
Right.
went to James and I was like, "Hey James, I'm working on a new album," and he didn't even have me finish my sentence, and he said like, "Of course, man, of course I'll be part of it." So I basically he was the first choice I had for this album. And he already broke the rule, of course, because I've worked with him twice. So I thought, what the fuck, I want the best singers in the world on this one. And I've already worked with a couple of them, like James and like Russell and Floor and Tommy Karavik and all these guys, Hansi Koers. So I was like, I want the best in the world on this one, and I don't want to limit myself. So in the end, it's about 50-50 on this album. It's 50% people I work with and 50% people I haven't worked with.
So this fall you'll be having the first ever actual concert of Ayreon music.
Yes.
How will that be for you?
Scary.
Because I know you don't like being on stage. And,
No, not at all. I totally hate it. And I mean, the moment I'm on there and it's going okay, it's fine, But it's just, I have such stage fright, and I see myself as a composer, producer, and that's what I do well. And performing, I'm just not good at it, and not exceptionally good at it. And I don't like. I'm kind of a recluse. I don't like to travel. I don't like to wait. I don't like to socialize. I don't like to repeat the same songs every night, because I did that for 15 years. I want to be creative, And
yeah.
so it's really not my thing. But the theater equation was such a big success. And people loved it so much. I was looking into the audience and people crying, people laughing, and I said to Joost, the keyboard player, let's arrange like an Ayreon best of show, and let's see what happens. And we went to the venue, and they said, well, you can sell it out maybe once or twice. And we were like, really? And they said, yeah, of course, let's even take an option for a third. And we were like laughing, 9,000 people, forget it. and then we started the pre-sales, and within an hour, the first show was gone. Within 2 hours, the second show was gone, only in the pre-sales.
Right.
So then we quickly added the third show, which was gone later that day. Amazing. I never, ever expected that.
There's actually a funny connection between the theater equation and the fan club, as it were, because when I started with working with Dream Theater stuff, it was on the official Dream Theater site. I was a chat moderator on the IRC channel.
Yeah.
On this channel, there was another moderator called Yvette.
Okay, yeah.
So that's my connection to...
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, she told me about that. I knew she did that, yeah.
So that's kind of funny, because...
Okay, funny, yeah.
Everything is connected in some way.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's a small world with us proggies. Yeah.
As a musician that do not tour, how do you see the music industry working now and going forward? Isn't it hard to...
Not for me, because yeah, as I said, the pre-sales of the new album, they're the best I ever had, and I've always spoiled the fans. I've always given them beautiful packages and extra CDs and DVDs with making of, beautiful artwork and stuff. And they still buy my shit, It's incredible. They really still want to have the original, and they want to have the most exclusive package often. And so it doesn't affect me yet, but I can imagine that for new bands, it must be horrible, if to get attention, because there's so many bands who wants attention now. And also, of course, the streaming. I don't know if you know, but like artists get 0.00029 cents per stream, which means you have to be downloaded like 1 million times to get a day to get minimum wages or something. And that's they should really do something about that, because that's just silly. But yeah, I'm lucky, the prog fans and metal fans are so loyal, and they support the artist, and so I'm not complaining. But like an old fart, I it used to be so much fun in the old days, with the vinyl and having to go to the record shop and buying it, and then it was all magic.
Yeah.
I hope that there's still magic for the kids nowadays.
Well, it's harder because there are no record shops anymore. At,
No, no,
at least
no.
not
But
in small towns.
no, true. But I just hope that they enjoy music the same way that we did, and not it doesn't become background noise or something.
Hmm. So I see the time is almost up. Just wanted to thank you for the time.
You're very welcome, man. I
So
enjoyed it.
so I will recommend everybody to listen to The Source. It's a very
Cool.
good album. I've been
Thanks,
listening
man.
it
Thanks.
for a couple of weeks now, so
Ah,
it's
fantastic.
really cool.
Cool.
Among your better works, I
Cool.
will
Good. That's
absolutely say.
goodness. Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
And keep up the good work with the Dream Theater.
Thank you.
Okay, man.
Goodbye.
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 Bye.